We rely on our digital tools for pretty much everything these days, right? Especially translation. But what if the AI behind it all has this massive blind spot? Well, today we're going to dig into this really cool study that uncovers some shocking flaws in our translation tech and, more importantly, a pretty brilliant human-powered way to fix it. All right, so let's just jump right in with a perfect example of how things can go completely, hilariously wrong. And I'm not talking about some made-up scenario. This is a real-world mystery that had researchers scratching their heads. So picture this. You read a sentence that says, "The fasting person begins his breakfast by eating lions." Wait, what? Yeah, that's a real translation from Google Translate. Researchers gave it a super common Arabic phrase about breaking the Ramadan fast. All it was supposed to say was that the person breaks their fast with water and dates. Simple, right? But nope, the AI spit out, "eating lions." And you've got to understand, this isn't just some tiny little mistake. So how on earth does that even happen? How do you get from water and dates to eating lions? Well, it turns out this wasn't just some random one-off glitch. It was actually a clue, a big one, pointing to a much deeper problem that's kind of hidden inside the AI we all use every single day. And that problem? It's a hidden bias. See, most of the language tech out there, we're talking translation apps, those big language models, all of it, it's all built on a foundation that's really, really biased towards English and, Western culture. And because of that, it creates these huge blind spots for ideas and concepts that just don't fit neatly into that box. Okay, so the core of this issue has a name. Linguists call it a lexical gap, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a gap, a hole in a language's dictionary. It's that moment when one language has a perfect word for a specific idea, but another language just doesn't. There's no direct single word for it. It's like a missing puzzle piece. And this table here? It makes the whole idea crystal clear. I mean, think about the word umami. We've all heard it, right? That savory fifth taste from Japanese cooking. That is a perfect example of a lexical gap in English. We just don't have our own single word for it. Or how about the Italian al dente for pasta? That perfect to-the-tooth texture? Again, we have to use a whole phrase to explain it. It just goes to show you, these gaps are absolutely everywhere. Oh, look, this isn't just about fancy food terms. These gaps tell you a lot about a culture. For instance, the research points out that in Arabic, there's a specific word just for your mother's sister. In English, we just say aunt, which can mean a bunch of different relatives. Or get this, in Indonesian, they have different words for uncooked rice, cooked rice, and even that delicious crispy rice you get at the bottom of the pot. Why? Because it's culturally important. These gaps are literally all around us, just hiding in plain sight. So, if the AI is dropping the ball, what's the solution? Well, this is where it gets really cool. The researchers came up with this brilliant idea. Forget relying on the flawed tech. Instead, let's tap into the wisdom of the crowd, the collective brain power of the people who actually know these languages inside and out, the native speakers. So how'd they pull it off? Their method is actually super elegant and simple. It's basically a 3-step process. Step 1, they create lists of words and their definitions. Step 2, they use this special platform they built called LingoGap, and they ask native speakers to jump on and either find a direct translation or, and this is key, flag it as a gap. Then, for step 3, all those answers get double and triple checked by other speakers and actual language experts to make sure everything's legit. Now, what makes this approach such a game changer is that it completely avoids the old, biased way of doing things. It can compare any two languages directly, which is huge. You don't need to use English as this weird middleman anymore. And, this part is super important, it looks for gaps in both directions. So it's not just about what words Arabic has that English doesn't, it's also about what English has that Arabic doesn't. It's a two-way street. Okay, so the big question, did it actually work? The researchers decided to put their human-powered system to the test. They focused on the world of food because, it's packed with all those culturally specific words. And the results? Well, they were honestly staggering. Get this, in their first big test, they compared English and Arabic food terms. The crowd, the native speakers, they found 2,140 lexical gaps. Just let that number sink in for a second. Over 2,000 unique food concepts that you just can't directly translate between those two languages. That's insane. And just to make sure this wasn't some fluke, they did it again. This time, they compared standard Indonesian with Banjarisi, which is a much less common language in Indonesia. And even there, they found 951 gaps. This totally proved that their method is solid and works even for languages that don't have a ton of digital data out there. This chart really just paints the picture perfectly. Look at it. When you're talking about food, less than half of the concepts, just 46.8%, are actually shared between English and Arabic. That means over half of the words in this area describe a unique cultural world that just doesn't have a direct counterpart. It's like they're two completely different culinary universes. All right, so this leads us to the ultimate showdown, right? Humans versus the machines. The human crowd did an amazing job, no question. But could a top-of-the-line AI, like a GPT-4, have done it better, or faster, or cheaper? The researchers just had to know. And the results? Wow, it wasn't even a contest. The human crowd nailed it, identifying the gaps in translations with almost 84% accuracy. And the big, powerful large language models? Their average was a measly 33%. That's not just a small difference, that is a total blowout. So you have to ask, why did the AI fail so spectacularly? Well, this comparison here explains it all. Humans, we get culture, we understand context. When a word is missing, we know it's missing. The LLMs, on the other hand, they tend to hallucinate, that's the technical term. They'll literally just make up a word that sounds right to fill the gap, even if it doesn't exist. They totally miss all the nuance and end up giving you these super generic translations, like calling every single different kind of milk-based dessert a pudding. All that specific cultural meaning, poof, gone. Okay, so why should we care about any of this beyond just wanting better translations on our phones? Well, it's about seeing the bigger picture here and understanding the real-world impact these hidden gaps in our tech are having. What this research really does is give us a blueprint for how to build AI that's better, fairer, and way more inclusive. By mapping out all these gaps, we can actually start to teach our technology to understand and respect cultural differences. This is so important for preserving the amazing language diversity we have in the world, and it makes sure that all these unique ideas don't just get steamrolled and lost in a digital world that's so focused on English. And all of this really leaves us with one last pretty big question to think about. We've just seen how badly AI can miss the point on something as basic and universal as food. So it makes you wonder, what other crucial parts of our cultures, our emotions, our entire ways of seeing the world is our technology completely failing to understand?